Today's video is brought to you by the good people over at patriotpost.us. They are an excellent source of news information, op-eds, and all that good stuff. And the link for them will be in the description box. So when you head over there and subscribe, tell them that ABL sent you. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Buttigieg, whatever his name is, having an event, town hall, or whatever you want to call it, and allowing a 9-year-old boy to come on the stage and ask him a really, how can I say, perplexing question. Now, before we even get into the question and my opinion about it, let's go ahead and roll the clip. In this clip, you'll see the boy, and I presume maybe his mom or somebody on stage with him and Edge. After we get done watching that, I'll talk about what was asked, what Pete's response was, then I get into my analysis, my 2 cents, and wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Zachary, age 9. Oh, wow. And this is a really touching question. He says, "Thank you for being so brave. Would you help me tell the world I'm gay too? I want to be brave like you."
Well, I don't think you need a lot of advice from me on bravery. You seem pretty strong. To see you, it took me a long time to figure out how to tell even my best friend that I was gay, let alone to go out there and tell the world. And to see you willing to come to terms with who you are in a room full of 1,000 people, thousands of people you've never met, that's really something. So let me tell you a couple things that might be useful. The first thing is that it won't always be easy, but that's okay, because you know who you are. And that's really important, because when you know who you are, you have a center of gravity that can hold you together when all kinds of chaos is happening around you. That's the first thing I want you to know. The second thing I want you to know is that you'll never know who's taking their lead from you. Who's watching you and deciding that they can be a little braver because you have been brave. When I was trying to figure out who I was afraid that who I was might mean that I could never make a difference. And what wound up happening instead is that it's a huge part of the difference I get to make. I never could have seen that coming. And you'll never know whose life you might be affecting right now, just by standing here, right now. There's a lot of power in that. And the last thing I want you to know is, even if I can't promise it'll always be easy, I can promise you that I'm going to be rooting for you.
Well, what was it? Why did you ask the question, and what made you brave to ask that question?
I just feel inspired by Pete being openly gay and running for president at the same time, and someday I want to be like him.
And how old are you?
I'm 9.
What did you take away from his answer?
I feel like he gave me some really good advice.
What advice would you give other boys out there just like you?
I'd probably tell them to just be themselves.
Okay, so you saw that, you heard that. Now, I don't even know where to begin. I'm not really sure where I should start. Let's just start from the very top, and I'll give you my immediate reaction to what I saw. Now, that boy was 9 years old. What was I doing when I was 9 years old? Let's just go back in memory lane. I'll be 36 this year, so and when I was 9, this is like, what, 93, 94, right around then? So early 90s, I'm watching cartoons, I'm reading Goosebumps books, I'm playing with toys, I'm going to school, I'm getting excited for getting a certain type of a pencil and an eraser, and I'm just having fun in school, and just being a boy, just playing around, having fun. I'm not even thinking about girls really in that way. Of course, I am heterosexual. In case you're wondering, I'm not thinking about girls that way. I may have seen a cute little girl in class or whatever, but I'm not even thinking about it that way. I'm not really there yet thinking about sexuality at all. You know, that has not entered my mind yet because I'm still a little boy and I'm doing little boy things. Okay. So I don't see how this boy can be encouraged to be gay at this particular age. If you are heterosexual, that is normal. That's a fact. You know, that's just what it is. It's not normal to be gay. Just looking at the numbers, I mean, how many people in the world are gay compared to people that are heterosexual? It's not normal to be gay. It's an abnormality. So when you have somebody that's 9 years old, a little boy talking about I'm gay, help me come out, what I would do instead was give him some advice. I'd be like, all right, you may be feeling a few things right now. It could be kind of confusing. Just give yourself some time to grow up, get a little bit older, and then make a rational decision at that particular point. This goes back to the whole Dwayne Wade situation. His son, daughter, whatever they want to call themselves, is 12 years old and says they are transgender. Now, Dwayne Wade came out defending himself, doubling, tripling, quadrupling down, talking about my son came out to me as trans, or he knew he would not necessarily be a man anymore, or whatever he wants to label it as, at 3 years old. Now, how do you know at 3 years old what gender you are? How do you even know what gender is at 3 years old? I saw a video, if I can find that, link it in the box, where this guy was asking his 3-year-old son, hey, do you identify as transgender? He said, yes. Then he said, do you identify as an egg omelet? He said, yes. I mean, the moral of the story is if you're 3 years old, maybe you don't quite understand things like being transgender or anything else. At a certain point, I'm thinking if you're 12 years old and you're being told that you're transgender, or you think that you are transgender, it comes from an external source. That's not something you just innately know. In my humble opinion, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can know that you're transgender at 3 years old, but I highly doubt it. You can barely read and write at that age. How do you know a thing that's complex like gender identity when a lot of adults don't even know? But I'll move on. This boy's 9 years old. Now, I see him on stage with a woman. Like I said, I presume that's his mom or somebody. Where is a father at? Where is the male figure in his life? Okay, that's an obvious issue that should be addressed. If there's no male figure in his life, then that would lead to him having some confusion about himself. Okay, you're hanging around your mom or your aunt. I mean, I see it all the time. You got these kids, these boys that grow up. They got their mom, their aunt, their grandma, 5 sisters. They're the only boy. They're surrounded all the time by feminine energy that can kind of manifest itself in different ways. You may become like the hyper thug, super emotional, want to just react to every little thing because you're not emotionally stable, or you can become kind of hyper feminine and soft like the women that are around you and live your life that way. That's just about how you're raised and how you're brought up. You don't have any kind of male influence upon which to base yourself on. So you just revert to the immediate closest thing, which is the feminine energy. That's just a normal thing. It's like being raised by wolves. Not to compare being a homosexual or something like that to being raised by animals, but if you are raised by wolves, which there are cases of that happening, you're not going to have human speech. You're going to be growling and hissing and stuff like that. You know, I've seen cases where you have a child in a house where they're being starved or abused. There's going to be effects from how you're raised. So maybe the boy's just having some confusion. If I were Edge, Buttigieg, whatever he wants to call himself, I would say to the boy, you're 9 years old, you're young, you know, you may need to just give yourself some time to figure out what's going on with yourself. Don't just decide that you are homosexual right now at this particular age, okay? Grow up a little bit, experience a little bit of life, maybe seek out some male figures and see if they can have a positive impact on you or any kind of impact at all. and you may see things differently than you see them right now. What you're feeling right now could be temporary. It could be a phase. You're 9 years old, sir. You don't really understand what could come for you in the next few days, weeks, months. 6 months time is a very long time to a young boy who is only 9 years old. You're in elementary school. Like I said, you're still reading kids' books and playing kids' games, watching cartoons, or at least I hope you are. I don't think you should really be 9 years old looking at adult stuff, because how can your brain really understand that? Now, I don't know this boy's IQ. He could be having a 300 IQ or whatever, but I think that's not necessarily relevant, because you're still a young child and your brain is physically still developing, okay? You are becoming a young man, then you be becoming an adult, and your brain is still developing. You are not finished in your development cycle. This is just, one more stage of growing up from conception. And when you're in gestation, you evolve there, and then you grow and evolve some more as a toddler, little kid, big kid, teenager, up to a young adult. These are stages of development that aren't just marked by getting bigger. Your brain is developing more, your language, your social skills, all those kind of things are developing. So 9 years old is way too young. Edge is just telling him what maybe he thinks is the right thing, but I think it's not. We can't just allow the kids to decide everything for themselves. At a certain point, you got to be a parent, you got to be an adult, and you got to be able to set standards for these kids. And if you don't, they just do whatever they want to do, and then they'll regret their decision and then end up hating the parents that allowed them to do certain things. Have some type of guidance and structure at home as parents, and let your child grow and blossom like a well-tended to garden, and not just haphazardly. That's how they grow into more well-rounded individuals that are productive in society. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think that Buttigieg gave this boy some proper advice? If that's your viewpoint, let me know why in the comments below. Or was the advice improper? He is 9 years old. What are we talking about sexuality for? Let them be kids. Grow up, and if you want to be gay or whatever once you get to be an adult, or not 9 years old, then okay. But come on, let's have some standards for kids and not reduce the standards because of societal pressures, or to just be woke or whatever you want to call yourself. But whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.